ASP.NET Core Features. Hi viewer, hope you all have a good time. After presenting your content on .NET Core interview questions, SQL interview questions, C# partial classes, MVC, and mobile app, now we'll focus on the latest advanced ASP.NET Core features. It will help developers with fundamental knowledge for developing ASP.NET Core apps, along with dependency injection, DI, configuration, middleware, and other features. Before we start, please like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates. Use of dependency injection, services. ASP.NET Core contains dependency injection, DI, that gets configured services accessible throughout a specific app. Services are included with the DI container. With Web Application Builder.Services Builder, services in the valuable code. Various framework-provided services are included when the Web Application Builder is initiated. Here, Builder is a Web Application Builder in the code. Middleware. The request controlling pipeline is organized as a chain of middleware elements. Each element conducts operations on an HTTP context, and either gather the next middleware in the pipeline or dismisses the request. Use of Program.cs file. ASP.NET Core apps developed with the web templates possess the app startup code in the Program.cs file. The Program.cs file is where the app's request controlling pipeline is well explained as a list of middleware components, and services desired by the app are well configured. Host. In the beginning, an ASP.NET Core app builds a host. The host encased whole app resources, such as middleware elements, an HTTP server enactment, logging, DI services, and smooth configuration. Generally, there are three types of hosts available. .NET Web Application Host, Minimal Host. ASP.NET Core Web Host. .NET Generic Host. The .NET Web Application Host is often utilized in all the templates of ASP.NET Core. The .NET Generic Host and .NET Web Application Host share many templates of the same classes and interfaces. The ASP.NET Core Web Host is accessible only for backward comparison. Servers. An HTTP server is utilized in the ASP.NET Core app to handle HTTP requests. The HTTP server forwards requests to the app as a set of request components composed into an HTTP context. Some servers are Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. ASP.NET Core delivers the following implementations of the server. IIS HTTP server for Windows utilizes IIS. Throughout this server, the ASP.NET Core app and IIS run in a similar procedure. Kestrel, a cross-platform web server, runs in a reverse proxy configuration utilizing IIS. In ASP.NET Core version 2.0 or the latest version, Kestrel can be operated as a public serving edge server revealed directly to the Internet. HTTP.sys is a particular server for Windows that isn't utilized with IIS. To handle confidential configuration information such as passwords, .NET Core facilitates the Secret Manager. For the generation of secrets, Azure Key Vault is recommended. Environments. In ASP.NET Core, execution or performance environments, such as building, staging, and creation, are available. Set the environment variable ASP NET Core _environment to mention the environment of a running app. That environment variable is read well by ASP.NET Core at app startup and gets stored the value in the implementation of an iWeb host environment. This implementation is accessible anywhere in an app through dependency injection, DI. Logging. ASP.NET Core assists with a logging API that functions with different built-in and third-party logging providers. Logging providers include Console, Event Tracing on Windows, Debug, Windows Event Log, Azure App Service, TraceSource, and Azure Application Insights. Routing. A route is a URL structure that is mapped to a controller. The controller is commonly a razor page, an action procedure in middleware, or an MVC controller. ASP.NET Core routing allows you to handle the URLs utilized by your app. Error handling. ASP.NET Core possesses built-in features for controlling errors, such as a developer exception page, static status code pages, custom error pages, and startup exception controlling. Making HTTP requests. An application of HTTP Client Factory is accessible for generating HTTP client instances. The factory performs the following. Renders a central area for naming and configuring logical instances of HTTP client. For instance, get registered and configured a specific GitHub client to access GitHub. For other purposes, get registered and configured a default client. Assists in registration and chaining of various delegating controllers to develop an outgoing middleware pipeline of requests. This structure is similar to the inbound middleware pipeline of ASP.NET Core. This pattern contributes a mechanism to handle cross-cutting interests for HTTP requests, including caching, error controlling, logging, and serialization. Controls the pooling and duration of underlying instances HTTP client handler, to prevent genuine DNS errors that happen while manually controlling HTTP client lifetimes. Combines with a third-party library, Poly, for transient error controlling. Includes configurable logging knowledge through iLogger for all requests transmitted through clients established by the factory. Content route. The content route is the primary path for the following. The executable file for hosting the app, .exe. The web route, commonly the word folder. Compiled assemblies that constitute the app, .dll. Content files utilized by the app, such as razor files, .cshtml, .razor, data files, .db, and configuration files, .json, .xml. At the time of development, the content route directs to the root directory of the project by default. This directory is also the primary path for both the content files of the app and the web route. Set its path to mention a separate content route while developing the host. Web route. The web route is the primary path for public, static resource files including stylesheets, .css, images, .png, .jpg, and JavaScript, .js. Generally, static files are provided only from the directory of web root and its subdirectories. The web root path would be content root /root by default. At the time of building the host, just mention another web root by writing its path. You can restrict publishing files in root through the content project item in that project file. Wrapping up. Hope this video will give some valuable idea about various latest features like middleware and dependency injections, etc., of ASP.NET Core. The developers will be able to develop the best competitive ASP.NET Core apps in comparison to other programming languages. The developers will definitely enjoy the development environment with these new features. Please like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.